Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. How are you all doing? My name is Ellis, and a very warm welcome to my channel. Whether you are a returning subscriber or whether you are somebody who is completely new and has just stumbled upon this video, probably because you are a Matthew Perry fan. So I am in this video going to connect into Matthew's energy. I am a medium and I do have a playlist on my channel called Heart Squad, which has a number of different channelings that I've done over the years, connecting into many different people. Now, Matthew Perry wasn't somebody that was on my radar to channel until fairly recently. And I'm going to take you through in this video some of the signs that I have that he is around, not just me, but you. Because what I experience with this type of work when I put it online is that it opens up a doorway to you to be able to sense maybe somebody that you've loved very much or admired very much in life, who are now in spirit, or it may be that their particular story resonates with you. And of course, Matthew's life, we are going to be talking about addiction in this video. Now, my throat actually feels quite croaky this morning, and I feel as though that's very linked into the fact that he wishes to find his voice in the afterlife, as he did in life. But I sense an extraordinary vulnerability with him coming forward. Before we even start this, I want to say that I feel as though it takes enormous courage for him to come today and be with us. So I want to, before we go any further, welcome his energy in and assure him that this is a safe space, a place of non-judgment, a place of healing, a place of love, and also a place of laughter. We also have some laughs on my channel as well, even though often what we touch on is very difficult stuff. So this video is probably going to be quite emotional. It's going to touch on some subjects that are difficult, but the intention is that it helps those of you that might be watching this that maybe struggle with addiction yourself, might have been touched by Matthew's story, as well as wanting to hear how he's doing in the afterworld. I will touch on his death because I know it's something that you as the viewer would like me to do. And we will just see how this develops, okay? I'm going to start off by telling you some of the signs that I've been getting in the last week or so, because it helps build up a picture for you, okay? You will also see behind me that I set up what I call an altar or a grid, not an altar in the old senses of the word with regards to church in terms of worship. An altar or a grid is just a way to create a portal through which spirit can come, okay? So this has been sitting on my desk for the past 48 hours. It combines a number of colour energies, crystals, cards, flowers, obviously his photograph, dragon energy, galactic energy, and solar energy, I want to say. I'm recording this on a very bright sunny day. That helps his spirit to settle and know that it is welcomed. I will just say at the outset, I've got my windows open. There might be a little bit of background noise from cars coming and going, but it's important that that window is open because it's going to help clear out and transmute lower energies that may wish to be released. And by that, I'm not talking about anything dark or horrible. I'm just talking about pain, the energy of pain, because Matthew's life was full of joy, but also was full of pain. So when spirit comes back to talk to us on the earth plane from a different place where there is more peace and love, they're coming back for a number of reasons. Number one, to connect with us. Can you hear the helicopter just coming over as I'm talking about him coming in? Doing it with style, Matthew, has to be said. So they're coming back to be with us, but when they come back towards the earth plane, it is a remembrance of what went right but also went wrong in their life. So videos like this is an opportunity not just for you but for him also to heal. Okay, right, so let's start with the signs. I mean, the first sign today was, without boring you with the details, in terms of my microphone working, I have to plug it into my computer, but for you to be able to hear my voice and not computer noise, I have a video playing in the background that has to be muted. It also keeps my computer running and not going into standby. But the point is, I just randomly shuffled and a beautiful meditation is playing silently, and it's 2 hours of guitar music. And as soon as I saw that word guitar music, because it's not something I really listen to, I thought, guitar, I wonder whether that's got something to do with Matthew. So I did just Google it, and it does appear that he did have a trusted, very loved guitar. So I feel that's the first sign. Well, I would also like to say before we go on that I know nothing about Matthew Perry. I mean, I really don't. And he actually quite digs that. Now, dig is not a word I ever use either. So he's saying he quite digs that because he was somebody who was surrounded by friends in life, followers, fans, all of which he appreciates. But there is something very freeing, he's saying, about connecting and being with somebody who knows very little about you. And actually what I'm interested in really is his soul energy. So even though Friends was a huge show, and of course, I've seen snippets of it over the years, I've never actually sat down and watched a full episode of it. Maybe because British humour and American humour is slightly different, although I know, of course, there's lots of Brits that love Friends, but I just haven't. So that's the first thing to say. I've never watched the series. I've not read any book that he's written. I believe he has written a book. All that I've done in terms of getting ready for this video is had a scant look at Wikipedia to find out his date of birth, date he died, and I also checked on his mother for reasons that will become apparent later on. Okay, so I'm sure I will make a couple of mistakes in this video if you've read everything that there is to know about this guy, but channeling is an art, not a science, and it's like tuning into a radio, and sometimes the bandwidth is really clear and sometimes it gets a bit more fuzzy. So that being said, let's get into Matthew. So yeah, the guitar music was the first thing. The other slightly odd thing, but perfect in many ways, is that I felt compelled, I mean really compelled. There was this energy, which was obviously him, that came over me on Friday the 13th to do this video, to set up this grid basically. Set it up on Friday the 13th, not even realising it was Friday the 13th. Now, of course, Friday the 13th has a lot of superstition linked into it. Some people feel it's a day of positivity. Some people feel it's a day of the total opposite. Why it's relevant to Matthew is linked into the energy of his death, which was a few days before Halloween. He died on the 28th of October. And I will get into his death and what I am being led to say on it. But I definitely feel as though there was a ritualistic aspect to his death. It was no coincidence that he died in the window leading up to Halloween. Halloween, despite being fun, maybe for kids to dress up and do apple bobbing or, you know, put on a funny outfit, etc., there's a innocent side to it. There's also a much darker, ritualistic, dark magic side to it, where darker forces in our world use it for ill intent. And as light workers, and if you're watching me, you probably are one, we need to definitely have our defences up around the portal, which is Halloween. It isn't necessarily all good at all. In fact, the forces of darkness are very strong at that time. Why am I talking about it? Because Friday the 13th also has an energy linked into this as well, this darkness. So this portal for Matthew opening on Friday the 13th, we're also in a window leading up to a lunar eclipse in Pisces, I believe, next week. And again, that's very fitting for his energy. Even though he was a Leo, his numerology, he works out at a number 7. And number 7 is linked into the energy of Neptune. Neptune is linked into the watery, I want to say the watery grave. I mean, of course, it doesn't mean that you're going to all end up in a watery grave if you're at life path 7. But for him, he did have a watery grave. But there's something about illusions, delusions, the deep subconscious, just depth with a number 7 energy, which is what he was. There was, of course, many positive things to say as well. But anyway, I'll come back to the numerology in a moment. I just want to build the picture of the energy over the last few days before he's sort of here right now with us. Because he says, I'm quite interested in... He's saying, I'm quite interested in hearing this, but he's also saying, I'm interested in looking back and seeing how all the pieces of a jigsaw actually end up, or how something starts with regards to how it finishes. Does that make sense? So his life was very much like that. He's still sort of in a review period where he's looking back and seeing how all the different pieces of his life came together to bring about the overall energy of it, the flavour of it. So when we look back and we sense a spirit wanting to connect to us, it is important to note it and acknowledge it. It also helps you to strengthen your own connection to spirit going forward and say thank you to the signs that you've been getting. Right, so what else did I want to say? Yeah, so back to Friday the 13th. Went to bed fully intending to do the video yesterday, this video that you're now watching. Had the weirdest night possible. My dog was up, barking its head off for most of the night, very unsettled. So hence didn't sleep, didn't do the video yesterday because I was tired. The only way that I can describe the energy was it felt very wired. Bella, my dog, seemed wired and spooked. The energy was wired and spooked. And that word wired seems to fit with Matthew's energy, particularly when he wasn't well and was in a more dysfunctional phase of his life. This thing of being, realising my hands are doing this, quite sort of, I don't want to call it highly strung, but just taut. It's like a taut energy, very fragile, as though anything can easily shatter its equilibrium unless certain things are in place to ensure and almost a vigil is kept around that energy, which is him, that he keeps on track. Now, of course, this is linked into addiction, but I feel as though it goes back further than that as well. I also pick up a OCD type energy with him, to the point whereby, it's ridiculous things really, but things that mean something to me energetically. Whether to have flowers, whether to not have flowers. Does he like flowers? Doesn't he like flowers? I always have paintings on my wall. You can't see this painting because the microphone's in the way today, because I want you to see this instead. But it's actually a picture of Jesus. Usually I alternate between a picture of Jesus or a picture of Metatron or loads of other paintings that I've got. And I was thinking, does he want Jesus? Does he want Metatron? Is he a Christian? Is he a Jew? Is he this? Is he that? It's this whole energy of what he's showing me now is rearranging pieces the whole time, which is very OCD, sort of if you have a shelf, all of the ornaments having to be moved round. Is it right there? Should it be there? Never being able to sort of settle for whatever reason. An over stimulated mind, also very much picking up his digestive system, his solar plexus energy, the colour yellow, which is a colour which is to do with our power, our self-confidence, our self-worth. And with him, it's as though I'm wanting to push that colour energy away, almost a feeling of sickness coming in, looking at the colour yellow. But it's strange in many ways, because here is a guy who gave such joy and such laughter to so many people. And of course, yellow is a colour which is about laughter and joy. So it's almost as though he wasn't able to partake of the joke in some way, partake of the laughter in the same way that other people did. So I'm sensing that. What was the other thing? Also clumsiness. There's a clumsiness energy around. Like I shattered a wine glass last night. Maybe that's symbolic as well in terms of shattering the wine glass. A big bottle of like moisturising lotion just literally fell on my bathroom floor. It was plastic and it shattered. It's gone everywhere. Just clumsy. I'm just feeling really clumsy in his energy, and I think it is his energy. I don't think it's just me. So yeah, this clumsiness, this sort of OCD, this anxious, highly strung, taut energy, this underlying energy of addiction, this restlessness, basically. And, we like to think that these are all things that when we're alive and we might sense these aspects, that we go to spirit and instantly we are settled and at peace. And there is a degree of truth to that, absolutely. But also, what I'm hearing Metatron, my guides, say is that we're all actually a work in progress, and that the healing carries on in spirit. It isn't just a one-stop shop. It's like, you're fixed, you've gone into the healing chamber, and now you're all right. It's as though it's a process, and it's about 11 months since he died. So I still feel as though there are a few months of this healing review which he's in. But he's joking with me now. He's saying it's a bit like being in rehab. I'm on day release. So it's as though I'm able to be with you here and be with your followers here. But equally, I'm only allowed out for a certain period of time, and then I have to go back. So I think the first thing to do, which will be interesting, is to ask him about his death and then the healing chamber. Okay, so let's do it in chronological order, Matthew, because I sort of straight away want to go to the healing chamber rather than the death. But I think it is important to honour the timeline. But I have to say that one of the cards that I've got out here on my desk is from Whispers of the Unsolved Oracle deck by the Reckoning Co. Now, I'll put all of these cards that I might use, which just help the process if we get stuck at any point. But I had this out anyway. I'd shuffled the deck and I'd asked about Matthew, and I've got timeline issues. So it's interesting that I want to go straight to the healing chamber. I don't want to look at the death, because there's something with regards to his death whereby the timeline doesn't quite add up. Can I also say something just as me before we go on? Okay, so, and I formally welcome him in, even though he is actually there. I can see him right there. I want to say something as me, Amanda. This is something I got this morning that I feel is very important, and I feel as I want to say this on behalf of Matthew. I want to say this on behalf of all other addicts that might be out there watching. This woman, I don't even know what she's called. I'm not going to bring her energy necessarily into this video very much, but there's this woman who's supposed to be one of the main suppliers. She's called the Ketamine Queen. I think it's so offensive to call her a queen. A queen is about somebody who is fully in their power, fully sovereign, for me, fully connected into spirit, aligned with truth, light, etc. And a fifth dimensional queen has got nothing to do with the type of arena that she's dabbling in, making money out of other people's misery. So I would like to call her the ketamine supplier. And I think if you can start to call her that, rather than giving her the title Queen, it also helps to diminish the power that these, I'm hearing the word cartels, have over us. Because Matthew isn't the only addict that has walked this planet. There are plenty of them. But above them are these mighty cartels, which sometimes are glamorized by mainstream media or our culture to be something other than they're not. They're dealing in misery, they're dealing in pain, they're dealing in agony, they're dealing in loss, they're dealing in grief. So can we please take away the word Queen? Right, at that, he's like standing up, giving me a round of applause. So he's saying, thank you for saying that. Okay. But he's saying dark, there is a dark Queen energy as well. But again, yes, you're right, actually. So let me just go back into that. Let me have some water. So it's dark Queen. Okay, he's saying he still likes the fact we don't want to call her queen, but it's like it's queen of a lower kingdom. It's queen of a kingdom which we want to see sinking rather than rising. And as a spiritual teacher myself, we are wanting to rise the realm of fifth dimensional consciousness. And in that, there are no queens that deal in death and drugs. Okay, so the ketamine queen, I want to say cancel, clear, delete that energy, and in her realm she can be called queen, but in my world and my reality there is no sovereignty to that. There is just despair. And I'm going to spray an energy of transmutation at this point, and then we're going to bring Matthew in. Okay, so purple ray of transmutation. This is Archangel Zadkiel, and we'll also send light to that individual as well, and to the cartels, that they be able to seek a different power source, that which is of light, that which is of love, that wishes to serve, that wishes to help. Okay, thank you. Right, let's bring Matthew in. So I'm going to spray the Rainbow Bridge spray. This is a gateway and connection aura spray that just helps me to connect. Matthew Perry. So I know his energy is over here in my room. But I'm just bringing him in for you so you can sense how he looks. And he may very well look different to how I might be describing him in a moment. You'll have an individual connection with him. And it's really interesting because I thought he was going to come in as an older version of Matthew, which is how I've been seeing him the past 48 hours, with the greying hair, you know, looking like a man in his 50s, with the sort of stubbly beard, the glasses, all the rest of it. And that was adamant. That was how he was appearing to me. And it was very much about, no, you know, this is what I look like. This is what I became. Not that there was anything wrong with the way he looked, but this is how I became. Because he carries a lot of shame energy, and we'll talk about that with him in a moment. But this is what I became. But how he's coming in right now is a younger version with a white T-shirt, and he looks more fresh-faced. But it's as though I've got, this is really strange. I've never had this before in a channeling, but I've got different versions of Matthew in the room. So I've got this younger version of Matthew, which is like eager, like a young puppy type energy, quite enthusiastic, or certainly there's an aspect of that within his being. And then there is this other older, sadder Matthew sat in the other corner. So actually they're both here. And the older, sadder Matthew is sitting down over there. And he's not looking up at me. He is preoccupied. He's trying to look preoccupied. He reminds me of one of those people that you see on the London Underground tube where they're reading a newspaper, but they're not really reading a newspaper. They're just doing it because they want to avoid eye contact. They don't want to acknowledge your presence. But it's not to do with not wanting to acknowledge me or acknowledge you that are watching. It's like he doesn't want to acknowledge himself. He's trying to distract himself from what he would see in the mirror if he looked in the mirror. This other younger Matthew, cleaner Matthew, I want to say, is wanting to be acknowledged by the older, sadder man, the energy of the older, sadder man that's there. And at the moment, there is this brick wall in between them. Absolutely, there's a brick wall in between them. But they are both aspects of who he is and was. And right now, it's as though he can't get through to this younger version of himself. Oh dear, feeling very emotional. He can't get through to this younger version of himself, which was freer, which had potential, which felt as though it just feels enthusiastic and it's very fiery energy. Quite a wild fire, but it's the Leo energy that he carried. But this sadder, older, masculine male energy in the corner is just crumpled and is like a watery mess. It is how I'm feeling it, you know. So I would like to encourage you, Matthew, at this point to walk up to, for both aspects of yourself, to walk up to this brick wall that's in the middle of my room here and put your hand on the wall. So the older you, if you could get up now and put your hand on the wall. The younger you, if you could come up and put your hand on the wall. And then feel as that wall dissolves until you've got hand touching hand. Your older self and your younger self. And allow those two aspects of yourself to become one and to integrate. And step into the wholeness of yourself. What you perceive as your mistakes, what you perceive as your flaws, what you perceive as needs forgiving, and then the other side that is like bright and bushy-tailed, raring to go, lots of energy, troubled still a little bit, but more whole. And then just bring love into this space. And I'm seeing him now and he's standing right before me. And we're going to pour down a pink ray of love and light into his being from crown to feet. And anybody that is resonating with this and feels as though they need to do this for themselves, you can receive this energy now. The broken parts of you integrated back, healed with love. And now I see him standing before us taller, head up, looking me direct in the eye with his blue eyes. Yeah. So he's here now. He's here now in entirety. What would you like to say in this space that you find yourself now? How strange it feels. How strange it feels to feel whole. How strange it feels to not judge myself. How strange it feels to love myself. How strange it feels to feel complete. How wonderful it feels to have no fear, to have appreciation for the whole of my life, the good bits, the bad bits, the difficult bits, the easy bits, the fun bits, the not so fun bits. Thank you. I'm ready to begin. Okay. So from this strong place, he's ready to begin. where shall we begin then, Matthew? Okay, I'm going to go back. We'll get to the death, because the death isn't the most important part of it. The death is not the most important part of a person's life. The death is just the exit point. And it might be murky and it might have issues, but we must celebrate the person's life. So, but we also must honour the wounding. How do you look back at your life? How do you feel about your life looking back at it now? From a soul perspective, he says, and this might surprise many that are watching, what a joyous experience it actually was. But I can only now say that from that place that you have taken me to, of wholeness and completedness. I wouldn't have said that 5 minutes ago. Okay. He says, I was stuck in the wounding. I was stuck in the grief. I was stuck in all the parts not somehow fitting together. But I see now that they actually did. It's very strange. I mean, it's strange, but it's not strange. It's like I'm in his energy of like, it's strange to see that actually it was all perfect. But I never saw that it was. And I can hear some of the viewers saying, how can it be perfect? He was a drug addict. Because from a soul perspective, he learned something from that experience. What did you learn? With regards to addiction, what did you learn? He's saying it's the total absence of control, of self-love, of self-belief, of escapism, of weakness. Of spiralling further and further away from self, from spirit, from wholeness, defragmentation, splitting apart, anguish, deep, deep, deep anguish. None of this feels very joyous, Matthew. He says, no, but the journey back to wholeness is the most sublime bliss. And you appreciate it so much more from being in that place of lack and nothingness. From nothingness to a place of wholeness. And I had glimpses of that in my life when I conquered my addictions, my shadows, my sense of loss, which I didn't even understand. In those moments of triumph, I felt that. But then I would sink back, intoxicated by the allure of false promises. Was it as designed? Did you choose as a soul, Matthew, to come in and experience addiction? Or was it other than that? Okay, I just need to go into this, guys. Give me a moment. I know it's a big question. Okay, thank you. He's saying it's not as clear-cut as that. He says we come with different timelines. This was one string that I could have played. So he's showing me guitar with, I can't remember how many strings a guitar has, however many it has, 3, 4, whatever. And we can play and sync and align to one of the strings. The strings are different timeline bands, as it were, bandwidths. This was one of the ones that I could have played and did play. But there were others. There is always a degree of free will and choice. Nothing is ever completely predestined for there only to be one potential outcome or one potential experience. But yes, within the tool bag that I brought down to earth in this incarnation as Matthew Perry, this was one of the, he's shown me a book that I could have opened and did open and played the part of. But there were other books that I could have, opened and played with and become. One of these books seems to be something to do with medicine. Now, I don't feel it was anything that he ever did. Might have had absolutely no awareness of in his life. But I feel one of the books was medicine. I'm feeling that very strongly. To become a doctor. How interesting. Okay, so one of the books was to become a doctor, but you never did. And you might never even express desire to do so. But he said, if I was to come back now, I would come back and play that book, that timeline. Because to be a doctor who truly understands, for example, addiction, anxiety, human struggle, he's checking himself. He was about to say, would make me become a sought-after, well-known doctor, as it were. But he's saying, no, I wouldn't want to work in that way. I would wish to become a humble doctor on the streets of, being taken to somewhere like India, or certainly not America, somewhere where there's more. When I say more need, I don't mean there isn't need in America, because of course there is, but I'm being shown somewhere, it's like back streets of India type energy, like a trusted doctor in a rusty old place, no stars above the entrance, no accolades, not much money to do the job, doing it from a humble place. Definitely feeling that with him. But anyway, in this life, you didn't play that one. Okay, so there's that. Now, one thing I'm picking up with him very strongly, and I have done over the last week, is one of the wounds he's carrying is a mother wound. And I would like to say at this juncture, as myself, just coming out of his energy for one moment, as a mother myself, there is no such thing as a perfect mother out there. Okay, so we don't want to start blaming people, particularly blaming his mother, but there's no such thing as anybody who doesn't have some type of wound, probably from family upbringing. So I definitely feel a mother wound with him, and I'd like to ask him about that. So because I feel as though it's part of the recipe, is what I'm wanting to say, in terms of how he ended up as he did. And that's not about blaming her. It's about understanding the seeds of where the dysfunction started to take root, whether that was a perception on his part, whether it was something that actually physically happened. So, relationship with your mother. He shows me himself as a little boy with an all-consuming appetite and demand for his mother's love. And it's very needy. It's like the little boy jumping up and down for attention. Pretty hard to handle, actually. Quite hard to handle. And whether he got this attention or not, I have no idea, but it was like whatever she would have done would never have been enough. So that must come from something maybe within himself, but he's just owning that. There's definitely something here with regard to the mother. And indeed, then going forward with his relationships with women, that just feels, what is it, Matthew? He's saying he didn't find it easy. Awkward is a word I'm hearing. Awkwardness. Again, there's this unworthiness wound in terms of feeling within himself that he couldn't be what maybe his partner wanted him to be. Now, in latter years, this may very well have been also linked into addiction, of course, but it's not just about that. It's to do with, because whatever he's doing to be the addict, whatever drug is being taken, it's filling up this wound, and it's the wound that I'm really linking into here, this energy of unworthiness. Or I keep hearing awkwardness. Almost sort of like not knowing how to operate or how to respond or how to behave, or I feel as though, I don't know whether he had brothers, or whether if it's not brothers, it's just other male friends, looking up to others in terms of somehow they do it better. They are able to be what I wish to be, but somehow I can't be that. This is all a program and a pattern that was running within himself. He says, I see now from this more integrated place that there was nothing wrong with me. If I could have just eased into who I was and been comfortable in my own skin. There's this thing about not being comfortable in your own skin. And what would your advice be, Matthew, for people that relate to that? People that don't feel comfortable in their own skin? Again, there's this like contradictory energy with him. On one hand, I'm feeling as the magpie pipes up, the black and white energy, dualistic energy. On one hand, it's like break out of that skin, you know? Just force your way out, as it were. Push past the fear. It's almost like a squashing down of the shadow energy within. Just push through it. But then there's this other aspect to him, which is just like, no, put on a second skin, put on a, reinforce the protection energy to such an extent that, you're shielded, you're armoured up to such a degree that no one's going to see who you really are. I don't think he ever quite knew which one to be, whether just to push through it or whether to double down with reinforcement energy so no one could really see who he was. Very Gemini. I know he's not a Gemini, but feels very Gemini type energy. It's as though I never really knew who I was. I want to go back, Matthew, if I may, to the numerology with you because I think just will help us to reset before we ask any more questions. Because his energy is pretty intense and deep. Lovely, but intense. So, yeah, he was born on the 19th of August, 1969. 2 years younger than me. So my generation. I have to say, when I channel people, I often try to find a link to them, something that I think, oh, yes, I did that, or I could. I can't really, it's strange with him. I don't feel that. I think some of it is, put it this way, he feels very much like the all-American boy. I think he also had dual nationality, didn't he, with Canada? So American-Canadian, but it's very much the all-American boy. Did he ever come to... He must have come to Europe and UK, I'm sure he did, but it's not... I don't know, there's just something, it's like, I can't quite... It's this Neptune energy. It's very... He didn't know who he was. So trying to... Even like he's here now, there's still this energy of like... Okay, so what he's saying, what I'm picking up is the fact that people didn't know how to connect to me very well. They would think they were connected in terms of a friendship or a business association, and they would latch on to that aspect of Matthew, but that aspect of Matthew was always changing because there was always another Matthew in the room as well. And it's like, which one were you really connecting into? Definitely that type of energy with him. The other thing he's saying to me is going back to this whole thing about like, I've never watched Friends and, don't know anything about that. So all the in-jokes mean nothing to me. But he's sort of saying how refreshing that is in some ways to be with somebody who doesn't know, because he says it's like people who only know you for he's given me the example of a musician, and you've had a #1 record, and that's what everybody knows you by. And then you might have done another 20 years of music, but people only want you to play that #1 hit. But you've done other work that was just as important or just as good in your view, but nobody will ever play that because all they want to play is the old song. And I think that's how he feels a bit with his character from Friends. It's as though people know me as that. And yes, that was an aspect of me. There was a lot of Chandler in me, but there was also a lot that wasn't, there was so many other aspects. So, yeah, okay, right, numerology, guys. You're still with me. Let's have some water. Look at this lovely Elvis Presley mug somebody sent me. This is actually from Graceland. It's got pictures of Elvis inside it. Brilliant, love it. Anyway, don't know whether you ever liked Elvis, Matthew, but you were born 19th of August 1969. So yeah, Leo, his numbers, I do colour numerology. So we take number 19, his date of birth. He adds up to a 43 energy. And we also take 7. 4 and 3 make 7. 19 is the energy of resurrection and new beginnings, actually. So I feel as though it's not master number energy, but there is a mastery to his energy in some ways. I don't think he's fully claimed it yet, though, even in spirit, which is that I think it was a difficult life by his own doing or by soul choice. Is not for us to even really speculate. But resurrection and new beginnings, number 19, put it this way, the lifetime of somebody like Jesus, I'm not saying he is Jesus, but the lifetime of somebody like Jesus, it was all leading up to that ultimate crucifixion energy, but then the rebirth. So he will have his rebirth moment, but I still don't feel as though he's quite yet there. in that. Even though he is in the afterlife, he's in a better place than he was, he's had healing, etc. It's as though it's still to come. Sorry, that was my daughter hoovering, in case you heard that, vacuuming. What was I saying? Oh, number 19. Yeah, resurrection and new beginnings. Okay, so I think also there was an aspect to him where he was always... It's like he was always looking for that rebirth moment. And yes, it's linked into the drugs and what he experienced. But even just before he died, I picked up that he still felt as though he could turn it around. He still felt somehow he'd be able to turn it around, or something would happen that would help turn it around. I know there was that slightly weird picture that he put up before he died of... Sorry, you're not going to be able to see this very well. And my printer's terrible, so it hasn't printed it out very well. But he sat in a hot tub, isn't he? 5 days before he died. He's just in the corner here wearing headphones. The moon's in the sky. And he says something like, I'm Matman. You know, I think it's linked into Batman, which he was into. But it's this sort of superhero type energy. You know, of course I'm a superhero. Of course I'm going to be able to turn it around, rebirth myself. But again, it's this delusionary type Neptune feeling, because he's a number 7. He's a number 7. It's Neptune. I also want to just say something about number 43. So if you add up all the digits of his date of birth, month of birth, year of birth, he's a 43. 43 links into the crown chakra. The colours are magenta and violet. And the interesting thing about it is that it can sometimes be linked into a Catholic past life, linked into... And if you think about Catholicism, it can be to do with guilt. Oh, good. I thought I wasn't recording then for 1 minute. That's all right. It can be to do with guilt, grief and shame. Okay. Think about, I mean, I'm not a Catholic, but I grew up as a Christian and went to Church of England. But, you know, I never had to go and confess my sins every Sunday. But, you know, the Catholic faith is all about that. You know, I'm a miserable sinner. Let me tell you what I've done this week that's terrible. Again, it's that energy of shame and guilt. So that feels as though it's come with him from a past life. He did have the ability to be a great healer. And I would say that probably, haven't read his books and what he did, but I do know he did a lot to help people with addiction in his life. And I think the shame that he feels now post-death is because he feels as though he let people down. But I don't believe he did. I think he can do a lot of good in the afterlife. And I suspect that I will come back and do a second video with him where we carry on this work together, if that's something that people would find valuable, because I feel as though in death he can be a great mentor for people who are struggling with addiction, to, you know, not go down the route that maybe he went down in his final weeks and days. But there are reasons for that and circumstances for that which are particular to him that we'll get to in a moment. But yeah, definitely, as I say, 43, it's linked into the crown chakra. So his crown chakra in life, let me just have a look. Yeah, you see, the thing with drugs and alcohol is that they can impair the auric field. They can put holes into your aura, okay? They can create tears in the aura. And what that does is it can allow in lower energies, entities that can distort the energy field, but also influence the individual. So Matthew, when he was well, is a very different person from Matthew when he was unwell, in the grips of addiction. But what he's showing me now is when well, it's as though, putting it in, you know, spiritual terms, I would call it his higher self was in control. Yeah, his higher self was in control. His higher self had the reins of his life. But in the grips of addiction, it's the higher self is still there, but there's another energy that's come into the system. And I feel as though it came in via his crown chakra. I feel as though his crown chakra was needing protection. And you know, it's odd because I keep picking up Jewish faith with him to such an extent yesterday as I say, it was like, can I have Jesus on the wall? Can I not? It's like, what is going on here? I don't believe he was Jewish, and I know this is weird because I know the Jewish faith goes, was it via the mother or whatever. But remember, past lives, we've been everything. Okay, so bloodlines are only one aspect of who you are. You also have other, I don't know what to call them, star lines, galactic lines, Akashic lines, Metatron is saying, in terms of what you've been. You can be every race. You can come back as any race. You can come back as any faith. You can come back as either sex. You can come back born into different countries, come back poor, come back rich. The whole point of the soul is it comes and experiences everything. I feel as though he had a Jewish past life, because I'm now seeing the cap that a Jew wears. And actually for him, it would have been, it's almost like he was missing that in this lifetime, because in previous lifetimes it offered him protection. Now, I don't know much about the Jewish faith, but and obviously I'm sure there's a great symbolism. If I have Jewish followers, please let me know. Is it called the skull cap that they wear? Is there something there that's also to do with protecting the crown chakra and keeping it clean, and it almost like a symbol in terms of spiritual purity? It's as though that was off and he needed something like that. If not, he certainly, when he was alive, I know this is, he's dead now, but if I had been advising him when he was alive, I would have asked him to protect his headspace, literally his crown space. I don't know whether he ever wore a lot of hats, but I'm seeing him, it would have been beneficial to have worn a hat. In the same way that as a spiritual person, what you put around your neck matters. So today I've got crystals around my neck. This is actually a necklace that links into different archangels. It's crystal. I went to put another necklace on before I came to record this, which was synthetic, very pretty, but like a synthetic necklace, and it felt wrong because I knew I needed crystals around my neck because it's protecting my throat chakra. Is also protecting my altar major, which is a chakra behind here. The altar major is another portal through which either good energy can come or negative energy can come. So you've got to really watch yourself. We all have to watch ourselves with regards to the chakras within our body that are entry points for spirit or for entities. And the crown chakra is definitely one. The altar major is another. So he would have benefited from that, more spiritual protection in his life. I don't know what his spiritual views were. Let me just link into him now. He's saying to me, I realise now how much I missed. Okay, how much I missed. Some of it through a drug-induced stupor and not being able to see clearly. But I feel an eagerness with him to come back, Now, I don't feel he's going to be allowed to come back soon, because I feel as though he's still got more healing to do in spirit. Is there somebody in particular in spirit that's guiding you? Yeah, because I'm feeling like an old priest with him. Who was Zadok the priest? Zadok the priest. I just want to look up Zadok the priest. I know this is very, very random, guys, but Zadok the priest. Was Zadok the priest a real person? Zadok was a biblical figure who played a significant role in the history of ancient Israel. He was a high priest who served during the reigns of King David and King Solomon, and his name is mentioned several times in the Old Testament. Well, don't ask me why, I don't know, but I have the energy of Zadok the priest with him. For some reason, I don't know, but that's why he's showing me. Yeah, he's showing me this priestly figure. There's a royal blue energy linked into it, a silver, and he's saying it's like a school. It's like where he is in attendance. Remember, he said he's on day release. Where he's in attendance, it's like a healing school academy. You go there for healing, for what you've endured during life, what you've picked up during life, what needs to be cleared during life, to review your life. But it's also about, it's learning. It's learning. But he's saying it's not one-way learning. He says it's not a case of you go to the school or the academy and you just are preached at and told what to do or what to learn. He says you are also reporting back to them what you experienced, because he says the book of learning, the book of wisdom, is always being written via the experiences of people that come back from Earth to add to the book. Now, my impression that I'm getting, and I've had Metatron, my guide, Archangel Metatron here helping me at this point, is it feels as though Metatron is saying to me that Matthew was quite a master soul, actually. So this energy, I know it doesn't quite sit with this unworthiness wound, but it's as though that's what he's picked up from coming to Earth, because it's contamination from Earth. It's Earth energy wounding. Yes, to a degree, there's still some of it with him now in spirit, but it's as though I feel he's a master healer, a master soul. I feel as though before he came back as Matthew Perry and had that lifetime, he hadn't been here for a long, long time. He hadn't been here for a long time. He'd forgotten what it was like. He'd forgotten how dense it was. He'd just forgotten it. So I'm not picking up that many lifetimes before he was Matthew Perry. This is why I get like the bounding puppy dog, full of enthusiasm arriving, and it's like, oh God, what is this? I can't deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to escape from this. How soon can I get out of this type energy? It left him like that crumpled figure we felt and saw at the start of this video. But it was for some reason, it shocked him. He was unprepared for it. Maybe it was the purity of his spirit as well. Okay, I'm picking up a purity of spirit when he came back down as Matthew. Now, remember, we're all pure spirits, of course, when we incarnate, but master souls have an even larger degree of purity. And what I'm being shown here by Metatron, this is really interesting, guys, is that very, very pure spirits, when they come, they can be contaminated very quickly. So if you touch something like drugs, alcohol, it can interfere with your system very, very quickly. And it's as though the addiction, it's almost like you haven't got a chance. It's like you become addicted much quicker, is what I want to say. Now, it's not to say he didn't help himself, but, it's as though it's like lamb to the slaughter type energy is what I'm hearing, lamb to the slaughter. So for whatever reason, he came down to experience this. Makes sense now what he was saying at the start in terms of I look back and I see, wow, what a joyous experience. Not because it's joyous being a drug addict or anything like that. It's just the experience of feeling that, which is the complete opposite from what you're feeling up there, because it all adds to this book that gets written into that this is part of the human experience. Let's put this into the book of records. This is what it feels like to be that. This is what it feels like to be that. And then can you feel the perfection next time he comes back as the physician to help deal with this? Okay, he tried when he was alive to do it, but it wasn't part of the plan. He's going to have to come back again, is what I'm feeling. He will come back again. He's quite eager to come back, but he's not going to be allowed back until he's ready, until it's all been written into this book. He's healed. And there's something to do with Zadok the priest. I don't know what that is. That's going to be giving him instruction as well. Okay, guys. Right. Holding the smoky quartz in my hand. What else to say? Let me go back a few steps and also want to tell you something about a couple of songs that were given to me. I often get given songs by Spirit. So Matthew Perry, when I first connected to him a couple of weeks ago, I was actually in the gym and I was listening to music, as you do, and he gave me this song. I mean, maybe it's an obvious one, but it's like the lyrics are really something. The lyrics are really something. So let's go back to the fact that he died 5 days after posting this pretty eerie photograph. He's in a hot tub, big hot tub. He's talking about how lovely the warm waters are. He feels like Map Man. There's this moon rising in the distance, but it's cloudy. There's lights on the horizon. He's completely alone. And the song, of course, is Bad Moon Rising. Okay, I want to read the lyrics to it though, because then we're going to get into his death energy. It says, I see the bad moon rising. Remember, whether it was a full moon or a new moon is immaterial. I'm talking about the moon is almost symbolic here of the Halloween energy that was to come as well a few days later. I see the bad moon rising. I see trouble on the way. I see earthquakes and lightning. I see bad times today. Don't go around tonight. Well, it's bound to take your life. There's a bad moon on the rise. Hope you got your things together. Hope you are quite prepared to die. Looks like we're in for nasty weather. One eye is taken for an eye. Don't go around tonight. It's bound to take your life. There's a bad moon on the rise. Now, there's another song he gave me as well, but I'll come to that in a moment. Let's stick with this one. I pulled a couple of cards. I'll pull some more, but these were pulled off camera a couple of days ago. And I asked about his death, and I'm just going to show you what they are, and then I'm going to pull some more cards live on camera, and I'm also going to ask him about it. But cards are a good visual way of seeing what Spirit is trying to tell you as well. The first one that comes out is rather graphic and not very nice, but it's the Ten of Swords. Okay, Ten of Swords. And it shows a bull with a sword through its eyes. I know it's not very nice, okay. Okay, he's telling me here blinded by it. But the thing about this card is that those swords in the back, or in fact, to be honest, those swords all over him, and in particular, there are swords going into the crown of this bull, yeah, right into the crown, feel like injection needles, okay. Now, one thing I do know, I had read, is that I believe his ex-girlfriend or fiancée had said he didn't used to inject. So she was really surprised that he had injected himself, because he always said he would never do that, or he didn't do that. But this show needles, it feels, I mean, I just can't get away from the fact how Michael Jackson, this whole death scenario feels. A lot of the people that I've read for before, Heart Squad energies, this is my theory, and I'm pretty sure I'm correct in this, okay? So you have a celebrity, you have somebody maybe with a lot of power. Remember Matthew Well had a lot of power to help people, and had helped people. And if you think about drug cartels in terms of money and the amount of money that they make, we are talking billions of pounds, basically. Replace drug cartels with music cartels, okay, music industry that again makes billions. It's about money at the end of the day, money and power. And if you have somebody good who's trying to change the world, heal the world, as Michael used to say, they are a threat to what I call the powers that were. So what the powers that were will do is they will look for a weakness in the celebrity, and they will exploit that to the nth degree to bring them down, so that it either looks like suicide or but usually there's foul play involved. Now, of course, with Michael, there was an injury to his scalp that led to an addiction with pain medication, which then became something else. So the weakness is there, the chink in the armour is there. They then get surrounded by yes men who are paid to make that person into the addict. It's not to say that the person doesn't also have some responsibility, but look at this bull. Okay, this bull is cornered. This bull is surrounded by plentiful supply of needles, supplied by those who are certainly not his friends. Michael's doctor was eventually convicted of manslaughter. I believe there is a manslaughter case, or there's certainly dubious circumstances around Matthew's death, which are to be questioned. So had he had a relapse before he died? I'm going to just ask him this now before I show you the rest of the cards. Had you had a relapse before you died? Well, he's quite quiet, but he's shown me a vein, and the vein has got contamination in it. Okay, so the way I'm being shown it is like a dark streak of something going into the vein, which I assume is the drug, is what he's talking about. I'm hearing drip as well, but I mean, I think that was Michael, wasn't it? So. But anyway, I'll say it because I've been given it as well. Oh no, he's saying drip supply for some reason. I don't quite know what that means, but it's like it's constantly on drip. There was constantly a constant supply. Right. Okay. So yeah, there was a relapse, but this is what he's saying to me. When well. And if you've got somebody in your life who's struggling with addiction, what they need around them is a very strong support system. You all know that. He knew that as well. He had that, I'm sure, various times in his life. Strong support system. But he's shown me a strong support system which is made up of people that are there to catch you, that are there to maybe see the warning signs, intervene if needed, give you space when needed, mentor you when needed, encourage you when needed, change with you to a degree. So it's like if it was the alcoholic, it's the friend who is willing to go and have a coffee with you rather than take you into the wine bar, you know? So a support system. But on the other side of the equation, we've got an enabler system. And he's saying, the enabler system, it's almost like good versus evil. The enabler system pushes out the support system. He's saying it is actually energetic as well. It is a fight between dark and light. So this enabler system, which is made up of people, are all the people who are the yes men or women, the suppliers, the people who are making money off the addiction, the people who don't want you to succeed as well. Now, he's saying this can also be people's thoughts, people that don't believe you can, people that are just waiting for you to fail are also part of the enabler system. He's stressing the importance of support system versus enabler system, obviously. But he's saying no addict can do it alone. And left to their own devices, an enabler system will quickly replace a supporter system. Yeah, you see, because the other song that he gave me, it's a song I've referenced before in other videos because, you know, these are my reference points, the type of songs I listen to. It was a song called Against the Wind. I can't remember who sang it now, but this is the passage that Matthew gave me from it, because it feels like he was always been running against the wind. That's what he's showing me. The years rolled slowly past and I found myself alone. Surrounded by strangers I thought were my friends, I found myself further and further from my home. And I guess I lost my way. There were oh so many roads. I was living to run and running to live. Never worried about paying or even how much I owed. Moving 8 miles a minute for months at a time, breaking all of the rules that would bend. I began to find myself searching for shelter again. This was very much his energy, not knowing who he really was, running against the wind the whole time of his life. Anyway, let's back to the death. So yeah, we've got that horrible Ten of Swords card next to the card of Judgment. Okay, so, but interestingly, we've got on this card for Judgment, we've got the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit intervening, and I feel as though he was quickly taken up to the light after his death, actually. It's as though the vultures were below, maybe clearing up the scene, taking away evidence. Another very interesting card that I got was this one. I don't know if you can see it properly on my camera, but it's the Nine of Pentacles. But look at this depiction of the Nine of Pentacles. So remember, this is about his death. These four angel wings are protecting this legacy. Remember the Ten of Pentacles, the next card along would be inheritance. They're protecting this space, all the work that had been done on himself, the work he'd done to try to get clean and healthy, the angels surrounding him. But it's as though, I feel as though that was when he was well. That's the support system. That's the enabler system. Let me pull a few more cards now. I'm going to put these cards back into the deck, and I'm also going to use, I'm going to pull 3 cards from another deck, which, let's start with that one actually. This one from the Reckoning Co, which is actually, there's some very dark subjects that this deck can allude to, so we'll just see what we get. It's about 80 cards, so I've had to put them in 2 different piles. So in fact, as they're so big, let's maybe have 2 cards from each pile, as it were. So I'm going to ask about his death. And, okay, so the first one that has come up is treason. And we've got pattern and repetition on the bottom of the deck. We've also got paper trail. The first thing that came to mind when I saw those 2 cards linked into his death, treason and pattern repetition, is that's an energy coming from him of the person that did the treason was himself, that he betrayed himself, because he does have this judgment of himself. This is not coming from me. I'm not judging him. Hopefully you're not judging him. He is still judging what he did. Even though, yes, what we've said already in this video, it's all going to be recorded back into that book. You know, remember, the soul is a complex, beautiful thing made up of many different facets and feelings and thoughts. So when he looks back on the death scene, it's like, I betrayed myself. I was the traitor to myself because I went back into that repetitive pattern that I should have known better. But we've definitely got a paper trail as well. A paper trail. So I feel as though that is a nod to the fact that accomplices will be held to account. Right, let me just pull 3 other cards from the other part of the deck. So anything else to say, please, about his death? Yeah, we've got evidence. There's definitely evidence. We've got regret. It's exactly what I just said to you. Look at it. Can you see that card? It's a man with his head in his hands. Regret. That I went back into the pattern. I betrayed myself. So these are more how he feels about his ending, okay? There's no doubt about that he regrets the way it happened. Regrets going back into the drug abuse. But remember, he's surrounded by these vipers and vultures with the needles. It's like being being a food addict and being taken into the biggest sweet store in the world. If sweets are your thing, if sugar's your addiction, we're all addicted to something, and just being left there and saying, you know, don't touch, you know, I'll be back in a couple of hours, don't touch anything. You take something. That's the type of energy I'm picking up here. But yeah, I've got evidence and paper trail. That looks very much like a police board with evidence being put up onto a whiteboard. Okay, tell me about your death, please, if you can. Hold on. Can you read it? I know they're very small little cards. It's the card of supplier. We've also got the card of work. And we've got routine, habit and typical. This to me is him saying that the Hollywood scene is infested with drugs. Now, I think we know that, but look at it. Who are the suppliers is what he's trying to say. Who are the suppliers at work? He's saying, look at work. Look at the whole industry, the Hollywood industry, the entertainment industry. It's routine for them. It's habit for them. It's typical for them. It's as though it was so hard for him to be completely clean because he was surrounded by others who thought that it was normal to take this stuff, to use this stuff, who might have been able to have kept better control of it than he did. He was surrounded by it. Again, if he was still alive and I had been advising him, what I would have said to him is, get the hell out of wherever he lived. Get the hell out of there. Go make new friends. I want to bring him over the Atlantic Ocean to England. I'm not saying England isn't without its problems, because of course it is, but somewhere completely and utterly different. If it's not England, it could be anywhere. Iceland, doesn't care who it is. That doesn't matter where it is. He needed to be somewhere completely different. Actually, what I'm feeling is a different continent. A different continent. It would have been the only way that he would have maybe been able to have stayed completely clean. Of course, there are drugs on other continents. Yes, I understand that. But I'm just trying to articulate that how deep the problem was and still is in his industry. And his industry is what he knew. I'm going to ask here. And then I'm going to go to him. I just want to pull two more cards from this deck. I'm going to ask, was he murdered? I'm going to pull one card from this deck. Was he murdered? Oh, hold on. Was he murdered? Meeting. Premeditated. I would say so. Premeditated meeting. Somebody decide, yeah, absolutely. I would say so. But it's, as I say, it feels very MJ. It's similar lines to that. Okay. Let's just pull one more card from this other half of the deck. Was he murdered? Anything else to say? Sorry, my battery died, which might be symbolic in itself. It said battery exhausted, so I've just replaced it. But I'd pulled a card, which you didn't see, and it's this one. It's the card of travel with a passport. But we've also got top secret, and we've got road, distance and journey. And actually, I'm going to take that card as well. We've also got crossroad. That, I think, is confirming what I just said, that I feel as though, do you know what I feel? He might not have said this to anybody. It might just have been a thought in his mind that he'd never even expressed. I feel as though there was a thought within him which was secret, top secret. Nobody maybe knew about it, that he wanted to travel. Passport. And I'll tell you what, that passport is right over Europe. In fact, it's right over Europe. It's over the UK, France, Germany, Spain. It's that part of Europe. Next to top secret, we've got road, distance, journey and crossroads. He knew it was at crossroads. He knew, back to that number 19 energy, resurrection and new beginnings, the date of his birth. If he was to have his resurrection and new beginnings moment in this life, he would have to get the hell out of America, travel long distance. He was at a crossroads moment, and he was considering that in his more lucid moments. I would say that maybe somebody even cottoned on to the fact that that was a possibility or was in the ethers, and they put a stop to it. Right, I'm going to go to him now. Let's put these cards away. See if anything else he wants to say about his death. And I'm going to look at that photograph because that was the place he died, in that hot tub. So, Matthew, what do you want to say about your death? He's saying he didn't feel any pain. It wasn't protracted. I'm just getting this sense of numbness, slipping underneath the water, totally out of it. So I definitely don't feel there was any pain, which is something. But he said almost to the point where that was a problem, because then when I arrived on the other side, I didn't know where I was, and I didn't understand I was even dead. So it's a bit like going to sleep, because on that particular day, when was it, 28th of October 2023, he didn't wake up that morning thinking he was going to die. So he then woke up in the afterworld, and it was like, oh, this is interesting. Yeah, he said okay, let me go back a step. He says what he did was he woke up and he was still he was still around his premises, wherever he lived. So I'm seeing the pool area, I'm seeing where he lived. And he was still there, but he said the only thing that felt different was himself. And he could see that something had happened. He could see that something was wrong. He couldn't find himself there. But yet he didn't know where he was. So he was very, very confused. He said he's having a bit of a laugh. He said, if I'd been confused in life, I was even more confused in death. But he said it didn't last, because I was helped to get to be where I'm meant to be, which is where he is now. But yeah, those first hours, I wanted to say days actually after his death. I don't feel, we had the Holy Spirit earlier saying that they came and got him quickly, but it's a weird one, guys. It's very strange. I've never seen this before. It's like Spirit took him quickly, but then he came back. It's like, did he have a history of like running away or running against the wind? Maybe his whole life was about running away. As a kid, did he ever run away? Literally running away. It's like running away. Spirit taking him out of that place and then him running back to it. He's saying there's a God, what's the expression I'm trying to get? There is a, what are you trying to say, Matthew? I know what he's trying to say, I'm just trying to put it into words. There's a corridor, there's a time corridor where you can come back. It doesn't mean come back into your body and be born again, just in terms of it's easier to come back and revisit. He was compelled to keep coming back and revisiting, even though being taken up there, it's like I had to keep coming back. And then from that place, I'm confused. Okay. The other thing that I'm picking up with, anything else to say about his death before I move on? So there's one other thing I want to talk about in this video. Anything else to say about your death? I'm seeing pills as well. Well, I don't know whether that's been reported. I'm seeing pills. Sleeping pills? Anxiety pills? Empty pill bottles. Okay. I know he wants us to do a second part of this, which is more guidance for people going through this at the moment. I feel as though I needed to do this first video, though, to set the scene, because I don't know how long I've been speaking. I think it's probably over an hour. I can't go on for much longer in this first video. But I would just like to say the other thing I was picking up with regard to him, he kept showing me over and over again, heartbreak linked into love. I don't know who this is, but a woman who he still loved, someone he was still in love with, heartbreak, loss. That also, again, it's not that person's fault, you know, if they've moved on. But remember what I said at the beginning, his energy is like this taut violin string, very highly strung. It's like anything can tip him over the edge into this other more watery energy that just takes him under. I mean, literally it did eventually. So the energy of love eluding him, or definitely heartbreak with regards to that. He's shown me a single red rose that he's offering to somebody. I don't know who she is. Yeah. So as we end out this video, Matthew, let's just see how you're feeling now. Anything else that needs to come through in this piece, and then invite you back for a second chat, which is more about guidance for others going forward, having set this scene. No, he's just coming through with the energy of thank you. Thank you for this space. Thank you for your time. He's talking about your time as well, watching it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience, he's saying. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your non-judgment. Thank you for creating a space where other people can come now and comment and write and honour those who are struggling. At this point, Matthew, actually, I'd just like to say that there's a lady that follows me. I'll say her first name only, who mentioned that I said I was going to do this video. Her name is Mary, and Mary's son passed last year in October from an overdose. And I asked Mary what his name was, and his name was Alfonso. So Mary, feeling very emotional, because I think you're one of many mothers and one of many people who love people who have been caught up in addiction. And I'd like to send my love to you. And Matthew is also, I'm going to ask Matthew just to look out for your son. So Matthew, would you do that, please, for Mary? Would you look out for Alfonso in spirit? And if he needs help and guidance? Yeah. He's showing me the guitar, Mary. He's showing me the guitar. He says, I'll play him a song. He's talking about the healing power of music. So I'm just very aware of the emotions around this video. And I want to honour those of you that are struggling with addiction, via honouring Matthew from a place of non-judgment. I think we do that. I think we can learn from his life. I feel as the video is ending out, there is this growing sense within him. And again, I'm going to quote Michael Jackson again now here. It's very similar energy. So with Michael Jackson, I know one of the things he is trying to do in spirit is take down the evil within the entertainment industry. He obviously has a desire also to help the children. If you listen to Michael's song, The Lost Children, says it all. But I feel with Matthew as well, he's wanting to smash these drug cartels from spirit. And he's saying, I can do that better from spirit than I can from being still on earth, because I wouldn't have been able to have done it on earth. It's as simple as that. So I feel as though Matthew is heading up for want of wow. So I'm just randomly shuffling these cards and I've just realised which ones just came out. Look at that. Breakup, divorce and separation linked to power supply. He wants to bring about a divorce and breakup of the power supply. Smash the cartels. That's exactly what I was just saying. I can't believe that card. But from a place of love, not doing it from a place of violence, from a place of love. There's a rose there to break up the power supply. So there are a number of these souls. I'd suggest you check my Heart Squad channelings. There's a limit to how much I can say on YouTube, but they are powerful presences in spirit who are helping to dismantle the apparatus of what I'm being shown is the world. And we know the world has, for example, a beautiful grid line of light all over it, but there's also a grid line of darkness. And through those grid lines of darkness runs things such as arms. I'm talking about war arms, arms to war, but drugs as well, trafficking, that type of thing. So they're trying to do their best to take that down. But Matthew can only do that from a place of integration and strength. So today we're helping him to arrive at that. Remember the place with the two hands, that place of strength and consolidation. And he's now putting his hand up like that and he's saying, join me, join me. So he's saying together we can do this. So I'm going to leave it there, I think, for now. I think that's as far as we can go in this video. I'd like to thank him and just end by thanking him. And he's getting up, and how does he look now? He looks better. He's got, for some reason I'm being shown his clothes, dark denim trousers, tan belt. He's got an open shirt, white shirt, sort of linen, bit crumpled. I would say he looks not quite as he did just before he died. I'd put him, not very good with ages, I'd put him 10 years before he died, that type of era, whatever that looked like. So he's looking to me like he probably would have looked in his 40s. And he's shown me a roller coaster ride for some reason. He's at the top of the roller coaster and he says, let's experience this together. But it's about, what he's saying now is the roller coaster is so evening out the highs and the lows. So not being on a roller coaster, which is like being very high and then very low, being on a gentler ride. Okay, he's now showing me just a train journey through very beautiful scenery. So he wants to help people get to that place of a more gentle ride through life, which is balanced, strong, steady, and influenced only by their own higher self and their connection to the divine and Mother Earth as well. Okay, so thank you. I look forward to doing that work with you very much, Matthew. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for coming here, and we appreciate and we love you. Thank you. And I appreciate and love you that have watched also. Thank you very much. Be kind to each other in the comments. Let there be only love, because it is only love that solves these very difficult problems we have in our world. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye for now. Bye.